It has been a seasonably warm Wednesday, and across central Oregon, more smoke is in the air. Earlier, we actually had some in and out clouds, just no precipitation at all, not even showing up on the radar and evaporating before it reached the surface. So, very dry systems have been coming into the Pacific Northwest and just fizzling out. That pattern continues. Hey everyone, I am Darrell Winninger, the Chief Meteorologist at Central Oregon Daily News, and we're about to do a deep dive into your most reliable forecast. Look at some of the changes we've already had today, what's expected as we go forward through the rest of this week and even this weekend, and what those changes mean for the impacts of our forecasts. With this deep dive, we're also going to be looking at a few other things, so let's go ahead and get right into it. First and foremost, today is Wednesday, July 29th. That is day one of the Deschutes County Fair and Rodeo. We're going to be doing our entire evening lineup out there, so check that out. That's actually why this deep dive and a few other things have been coming to you a little bit earlier today. But let's go ahead and keep looking around the high desert. Several of the Oregon Hazard Lab's cameras show either smoke in the air or very little in the way of cloud cover. And we just have some areas of poor air quality as of right now. And actually, yesterday, these two cameras that we're looking at right here showed different vantage points of the bench fire that's on the Warm Springs Reservation. In fact, that Lake Billy Chinook camera, you could see it just coming right down the slopes or the sides of Lake Billy Chinook. Right now, just low visibility. We cannot see much of anything. In fact, that Klein Butte's camera is pointed more toward the south and the southeast, so it's away from the bench fire. Now, when it comes to our air quality, we have several different networks. We're going to talk about each and every one of them right now. First and foremost, we have the DEQ hourly average. This is what all the guidelines from the DEQ are based off of, that hourly average. So it's also important to check out. It just doesn't change as quickly with wind speed and direction shifts as the real-time sensors. But it does show a range from good to moderate air quality across Deschutes County and parts of Jefferson County, all the way to unhealthy for Prineville around the Rogue Creek fire complex and getting down into the Maury Mountains. Now, when it comes to the real-time sensors from East Space Labs, which is a local company in Bend, they show good to unhealthy for sensitive groups, but the one in Prineville hasn't been working, and it looks like our purple air sensors aren't working either. So that's pretty much what we have now. The purple air sensors at times have been showing just hazardous air quality for some parts of Crook County because of not only smoke from the Rogue Creek complex, which is just to the north, including fires that merged into the Rogue Creek complex, like the Brewer Fire, the Green Mountain Fire, the Box Springs Fire, but also that smoke coming from the Bench Fire has been coming out of the northwest to the southeast, just right into Crook County. So there have just been times of poor air quality. Yesterday was one of the days where it was actually pretty decent, moderate air quality for a good chunk of the day. Now, satellite and radar does not show much. It shows those clouds that moved through earlier. There's just no precipitation in sight at all for Central Oregon or the Pacific Northwest. Now, there is a low out over the Gulf of Alaska and North Pacific Ocean, but that's just going to fizzle out a little bit as it rolls this way, or at least a cold front will. The actual low goes into BC, Canada, and pretty much away from us. So we are firmly under the influence of a broad ridge of high pressure that's anchored out over the Pacific Ocean and just expanded right into the Pacific Northwest. Even when we get a better look at this low that's out over the Gulf of Alaska and what's happening further off to the west of that, there's another low at the tail end of the Aleutian Islands. This is like going to be training right into across the Gulf of Alaska and into Canada, but it's also going to be going right around us. However, the one that's further out over the Aleutian Islands, by the time that catches up with us on Saturday, it could just bring some in and out clouds, some showers west of the Cascades, but the mountains really absorb the bulk of that moisture, and we're not actually expecting any precipitation, but more clouds are in the forecast, and it's going to get a little breezy. In fact, winds are going to be pretty gusty at times, and so that's going to lead to fire danger concerns by the time we get to Saturday. Meanwhile, your forecast model doesn't show much. It just shows some in and out light clouds. Some of that's even smoke, because I also have the visibility forecast product laid on top of this high resolution model, and so it's actually showing some of the reduced visibility because of that smoke. Meanwhile, through the next couple of days, we keep more sunshine than cloud cover, so to say, because where you have smoke, you're not going to be seeing that sunshine very much. much. You'll see very little cloud cover over you, but it's just going to be times of poor air quality expected. And we just stay in this pattern of more sunshine than cloud cover through Friday, getting into Saturday. So let's hit pause. Right now, what we're looking at is relative humidity. This is measured in percentages. And what you do is you take the dew point, which is once the temperature gets down to the dew point, we have full saturation, 100% humidity, and you take the temperature. When you compare the two relatively, it tells you how dry or moist the air is. And as of this afternoon already, we're running pretty dry, and by later this afternoon, we're actually looking at the potential of some teens percentage-wise as well. And so because of that, and winds, which we'll talk about in a little bit, the National Weather Service has actually issued a fire weather watch for Saturday, coming just into the tip of Jefferson County, but going all the way up through Pendleton, the Tri-Cities area, going up to the Gorge and well into eastern Washington. Now, with that being said, similar conditions are expected right here in Central Oregon. So even though we don't have the fire weather watch, we're still looking at critical fire danger through the day Saturday. On top of that, the DEQ, the Department of Environmental Quality, also has an air quality alert until further notice, so it is indefinite. And that's for most of Central Oregon, Wasco County, and even getting over to the eastern side of the state because of the wildfires spread across the Pacific Northwest. Now, most of which are right here in Central Oregon or around. Now, in the last 24 hours, highs mostly in the 80s. A few spots got close to 90 degrees. And by this afternoon, later this afternoon, getting closer to evening, but peak heating, we could actually see some 90s as well. Meanwhile, temperatures are right now are running between 4 degrees warmer and 5 degrees cooler than 24 hours ago. So close to where we were this time yesterday. And at the moment, at just after 2:30 p.m. on Wednesday, we have 80s with some 70s on the map. Now tonight, we're cooling back into the 40s. So a pleasant start as we begin the day for some. Unless you're in one of those areas that just get some of that persistent smoke, it's not going to be pleasant to start the day. But those temperatures are going to be cool. Meanwhile, by the afternoon, getting into the evening, look at that. Peak heating puts us in the mid to upper 80s with a few 90s. And it's going to be like that today, tomorrow. Then by Friday, we crank the temperature up a little bit more. By Saturday and Sunday, our next cooling trend. So roller coaster temperatures are indeed expected, just no precipitation. Winds are getting breezy at times, and UV intensity stays very high through the next several days, even with that smoke. And it is going to be dry between now and Saturday at 11 p.m. Really, that goes even further, and I'll show you that when we get to the not high resolution forecast model. But when it comes to our temperature trend, we do see that roller coaster where temperatures are peaking on Friday, the maximum heat for this stretch, and then they dip back down to either side of 80 degrees by Sunday. By next week, we start to heat right back up, and it's going to get even hotter before our next cooling trend after that. So that's what I mean by roller coaster temperatures. Now, when it comes to our forecast model, we do have very little in the way of cloud cover. We have that low that's way out over the North Pacific Ocean and Gulf of Alaska. And our forecast model keeps it mostly clear. Tonight, by tomorrow, some PM clouds. By Friday, looking at more sunshine than cloud cover. By Saturday, some clouds expected. This is when it gets breezy. And a little bit more cloud cover Saturday night going into Sunday. Here's the thing. Saturday and Sunday, a few sprinkles are possible. I'm just not banking on a lot of it actually reaching ground. Now, when we look at the long-range forecast model, this one actually confirms it a little bit better. We keep more sunshine than cloud cover, except for Thursday afternoon, and then Saturday going into Sunday. During that entire time, dry. By Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all of next week, we're staying pretty dry as well. Not even much in the way of cloud cover, just winds getting a little breezy at times each afternoon. And so when between now and Saturday at 11 p.m., nada, no rain in sight until you hit the west slopes of the Cascades. That's where a few light showers are going to be possible, just none of it making it this far east. A lot of it just being absorbed by the Cascades. When it comes to wind gusts this afternoon, really 10 to 20 miles, not that impressive at all. We just have a light breeze across the high desert. But later this afternoon, going into the evening, we're talking 10 to 20 mile per hour winds, gusts as high as 35. Add that into the already super dry conditions, and any fires that start or are already started are likely to spread rapidly. By tomorrow afternoon, still back to 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusts at 20 plus. By Friday, same thing. By Saturday, that's when it gets gusty. So for tonight, expect 40s and some 50s on the map. By Thursday, we're talking 80s with a few 90s. This puts us close to average once again for this time of the year. The average high is 89. Our average across Central Oregon is going to be more like 88, 89 degrees, so right on target. Then by Saturday, that's when it gets breezy. Some in and out clouds are expected, but really the biggest change up, it's going to come twofold. Number one, smoke from the fires. We're going to be tracking very diligently the fire spread and fire activity. But number one, as far as changes, is smoke. Number two, those roller coaster temperatures. Friday's bringing the heat. Saturday starts to cool. By Sunday and Monday, or by Sunday, we're topping out on either side of 80 degrees. That is pleasant. That is unseasonably cool. Air quote cool. It's just not, it's going to be a good dip in temperatures. Then we're back into the 90s by Tuesday and Wednesday. So as we go forward, our weather headlines for this Wednesday, July 29th, heating Friday, PM breezes are expected. Weekend cooling is in the forecast as well, and that's going to be the cooling where we dip back down to either side of 80 degrees. So still not cool, but not as hot as it is today or even especially on Friday. Now, wildfire, smoke, and very dry conditions stay at the top of our mind with this forecast. So that is the latest in weather. Join us tonight on Central Oregon Daily News. We'll have the latest headlines, your most reliable forecast, all the details you need going forward, and we are going to be live at the Deschutes County Fair and Rodeo. So if you're swinging by, come say hi. We're going to be at the same stage that we're at all the time. The last several years, we've been in the same location. We have that huge stage with the big TV behind it. And so if you're walking around and you see us out there, wait until we're in a commercial break and stop by and say hi. But that is the latest in weather. Join us tonight on Central Oregon Daily News. We'll have the latest headlines and your most reliable forecast. See you then.